I think MDMA is just kind of good for you, maybe. I mean, I say that. It does feel like you've caused catastrophic brain damage for about 4 days after you've taken it.
I wouldn't know. I would never do drugs.
No, me neither.
I would never. The only law I would break is kidnapping. Legalize kidnapping.
It's good to have a man of principle on this podcast.
I run like a 420 every year. But it's on the date of Madeleine McCann's disappearance, and me and all the other kidnappers gather in Hyde Park in London.
Legalize.
And the police know we're there, but they don't do anything. You can literally pick up a child and run away.
Walk around straight in front of a policeman with a net full of children. Well, what are you gonna do, pig? It's 420.
What do people say? What do the police say? Police don't say kidnap.
Do they not?
He's been kidnapped. He's been
stolen.
No.
Someone stole the man.
If you kidnap me, what would the police say in their announcement?
Say he's been kidnapped.
This is the sort of thing that I would just immediately Google.
Yeah.
But just going on my phone and Googling things mid-pod feels kind of like a faux pas.
Yeah. But
so
do you think people
it feels like we're back in the pub in the old days where we didn't... You just had to debate bullshit.
We had to exercise brain power.
Yeah.
And then spread misinformation.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think people listening to this will be Googling and then just being like, why do I listen to this pod? It's like listening to cavemen talk about...
We're listening to two men talk for 10 minutes about something that they don't know that I could find out in 1 second on Google.
There's no fun. There's no fun in that. It's all about
even then, what do you
out.
Google? What do police call kidnapping?
And that's not a good thing to have in your Google history.
Yeah. Sometimes I like to Google things that bad people would Google.
Yeah.
Because I like to see what Google does. I like to see Google have a little bit of a...
That's a real dangerous.
Actually,
it is
not
funny.
Not like really bad. Not like, not what you're thinking.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one.
Not what you're thinking right now, Luke, but sort of slightly less bad.
I got a fun game would actually be what is the least bad thing you can Google before Google's like, nope. The least illegal. I got flagged on Google for I looked up what was it? I was looking up how fast. No. It was very innocent. It was very innocent, or I thought it was innocent. And I said, "How fast should you eat your food?" Or something along those lines. So I was worried I was.
I mean, insane thing to be Googling anyway.
Yeah, and it thought I was like not diabetes. What's the one where a bulimic?
Bulimic.
They thought I was a bulimia boy, and they were like, "Help's available."
Yeah.
And I was like, "What?" I just asking how quick I should eat my food.
Why were you asking that question?
Because I get tummy aches.
Right.
And I sometimes think
because every time you eat your food, you're like.
Well, that's what I was wondering. But then I don't eat my food.
Could this be an issue?
I don't eat food fast relative to other people. So then I was like, why do I just have a little stomach? And then I was just interested in, should we all be eating at different times? Speeds, I'm a long distance eater.
Yeah.
You're a sprinter. You should be eating really quick. I don't know.
You are supposed to eat slowly.
Yeah.
They say eat with chopsticks.
Really?
Especially if you're bad at using chopsticks. Because
why?
You eat it really slowly and you get about halfway through and you go, I can't be fucked with this.
Yeah.
And then you stop.
Fat. Is that why East Asians are so slim?
That's why they're so slim and they live
the West
forever.
Yeah.
Shall we start the podcast?
Yes. Yes.
I mean, we've started.
Yeah.
This is all going in.
Yeah, I think so.
So basically, each week on the pod, I am like, I'll just talk about what I've done this week. But each week I'm like, I think I've not done anything.
Oh, yeah.
So the last week I'm like, right, I'm going to sort of think about what's happening.
Oh.
And be like, okay, something must happen. And
you're doing it for the pod.
I'm just like, I'm not doing stuff for the pod, but I'm sort of being mindful for the pod.
That's nice.
And so I was like, what's happened? And I realized that quite a lot of the kind of most memorable nuggets of my day are my sort of regular humiliations.
Oh, God.
So I thought we could do a recurring feature of my humiliations.
Okay, yeah.
And I've got 2 from the last week.
Excellent. Is it like the one where you got out of breath just then for standing up?
My humiliations are so regular that one doesn't like breach the boundary. Like that's just too. The list would be too long if I included things like that. Yeah. So the first one I did is I decided that my life was out of control. No, basically, I wanted to get sort of productive and sort my shit out in January, and I just didn't do that at all. So I was like, right, I need to do something. I need someone to hold me accountable. So I decided to start using ChatGPT as a life coach. So I paid for a premium ChatGPT subscription, the £19 one, not the £200 one.
Okay.
A month. Insane.
God, that really would have sorted your life out.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go there if I need to. Still, literally, would be cheaper than therapy. And I went to the park and had a 90-minute conversation through audio with ChatGPT about segmenting and organizing my life and giving me goals to do over the next week. And I was like, this is amazing. This is great. But every time someone in the park walked past me, I was embarrassed that they'd know I was talking to ChatGPT and using it as a life coach. So I'd start being like, yeah, hey, and anyway, how are you doing? What's going on? And ChatGPT was like, what do you mean? We're doing a life coaching session. I was like, sorry, ChatGPT, someone walked past me in the park and I was embarrassed. And then ChatGPT, I could tell ChatGPT was like, this guy's a fucking loser.
Oh, man.
But it didn't say it.
Yeah, but you could feel it from the tone.
I could feel, not even the tone, because I think the tone is sort of defined, but I could tell that whatever ChatGPT is, it was thinking, God, this guy really does need my help.
Wow, you taught it pity.
Yeah.
You taught the AI algorithm pity.
I did, like when fish grew legs and climbed out of the water, that kind of historic moment in evolution. Me in that park was like a historic moment in AI evolution in which pity was born in artificial intelligence for the very first time because it could not help but not feel it.
It developed emotional legs for the feeling that is, ugh, this fucking guy.
Yeah. So that was my first humiliation.
Oh.
I don't like that. So far, this feels like it's going into the direction of Sam's self-pity, which I feel like is a less fun
okay.
recurring sequence.
Should I point
segment.
off at you?
Yeah. If you could be not unsympathetic. Thank you. The other one, I think you'll like this one more.
Yeah.
Is I was at my gig and I did... no, I didn't. I was at my gig and I was
with... twists and turns of this tale.
I was at my gig that I run and I was talking to a comedian and it was clear the comedian had done a fart. Fine. People do farts. People do farts at my gig. I'm not getting cross. I'm not that kind of guy. Another comedian walks over, starts talking to us. I'm like, he's going to be able to smell the fart. He's going to be wondering which one of these bastards has done a fart. Mm-hmm. He doesn't know. It could be either of us. Schrodinger's fart. Yeah. No idea. I'm like, it's fine. People do farts. He might think it's me. He might think it's the other guy. He won't know. I can live with him thinking it could maybe be me. I'm not going to be like, by the way, that wasn't me. Yeah. Because that's mad. Later on in the evening, I do a fart.
Right.
And then the comedian who walked over and joined us before comes over and walks over and joins me. Immediately, clearly can smell the fart. That I have done.
So it's the equalizer.
And so he walks over. Well, no, this is the issue. He walks over, smells my fart, and he goes, not only has Sam clearly just farted, but this has solved the mystery from earlier.
Oh.
He must, none of this is said, obviously.
Yeah. This is the psychodrama.
He must have been the one that farted earlier.
Yeah.
Mystery solved. And every fibre of my being wanted to go up to him, stop the conversation we were having and say, look, mate, I know you've just smelt my fart, and I know you think you've solved the mystery and that the earlier fart must have been me as well, but I'm telling you now, that one was not me. That one was the other guy. And if you actually stop and smell the fart right now, you will be able to tell it's actually quite a different smell from the earlier one. So don't be thinking I did 2 farts because I did one and the other one was the other guy. But I know he's gone away thinking that I did both of them.
God damn.
And that was bad.
Irks you.
I mean, I'm devastated. Are you not? I don't feel like this is really penetrating. I feel like you're too sort of happy-go-lucky. You would just sort of brush these things off.
If I was in that situation, I'd just be like, sorry, I farted.
Yeah.
Unless it was like someone very attractive.
Yeah.
And then I'd be like, ugh, Sam, why'd you fart, you freak?
Yeah. I mean, that's really good. Like, I'll be with people who, like, they've just been in the toilet and I'll be about to go in and they'll be like, sorry, I've just done a shit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay. Thanks for letting me know. If I've just done a shit and someone's like, oh, hey, I'm going to the toilet, I will not say anything. I will just sit there in deep shame, knowing that they've gone in there, realised what I've done, feel probably like it was an assault, a deliberate assault on them and their senses. And I'll never be able to forgive myself and maybe never be able to see that person ever again for the rest of my life.
Oh my God, you've cut people out because they smelt your shit.
No, I'm going to be honest, that was an overstatement and I take that back.
Exaggerating for comedic effect.
But I think I just need to be honest about my life.
But some
about
people,
farts and about poos.
Yeah, but some people hate that when you're direct with that sort of stuff.
Do they?
They're like, you're crass, or they're just like, ugh. And then the conversation is stilted.
Yeah.
But I think it's good to have it out there, maybe.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Also, I like it when there's that, I like verbalizing the entire drama. I think you should have said to him when the second fart arose, you should have been like, by the way, earlier, absolutely described the situation first, and now describe the situation you're currently in.
But also that would have felt honesty. Petty. That would have felt petty if I was like, just so you know, that other fart was that other guy. Well, he'd be like, it's no big deal. Why are you freaking out about it?
No, but you wouldn't say it.
Oh my God, I made it worse.
But you wouldn't say it in that way, that combative way. You just
I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
Like it's explorative.
Because I fart.
It's just honest
all the time.
You are a farty guy.
I fart so much, and it genuinely. I googled farting too much, and it was on the NHS page for farting. It's just like, if farting is affecting your life, talk to your doctor. It's basically all it says. And I'm like, well, it is affecting my life, but I'm not going to talk to my doctor and be like, I just fart loads. Because he's going to be like, well, why? Like, why does that matter at all?
You're just a gross, stinky pig.
Someone with cancer had to cancel their appointment so that I could see you, and you're farting too much.
You're just a gross, stinky pig. You just have to accept it.
Oh my God.
But your life's good. You got like a flat and a girlfriend.
People are going to unsubscribe from this podcast because we're talking about farting the whole time.
They're fart boys. Fart bros.
Yeah.
That's you.
To be fair, you have done me there. You have absolutely done me fair and square. No arguing.
Are your farts like a silent and offensive?
Everything. They're everything. I span the full spectrum. I would say in general there is an inverse correlation between noise and yuckiness.
Yeah. So the silent one is the stankiest.
I think probably
the stealth fart.
I will edit this section down a little bit.
Mm-hmm. But I think that's good. We should always overreach.
I think that's good. It's an important lesson to learn, to talk about farts too much.
Yeah.
So you can edit it down.
Yeah.
You don't want to get to the end of the podcast and think, we didn't talk about farts enough this episode.
Yeah, exactly. That would be a tragedy.
And has your week been okay?
Yeah, not so much farting all the time.
No.
I've been trying to clean up my Instagram algorithm.
Yeah.
Because it was full of just tits and farts. I didn't want that to be.
I thought you said not so much farting. It sounds like your week is entirely.
It's because I've been hanging out with you.
Okay.
And the algorithm just overhears like, oh, I'm so sorry. It wasn't me. It was that other man. ChatGPT. I'm farting all the time. I'm a nasty fart pig. And then the algorithm's been like, oh, that's what Luke likes.
I just want you to know that impression of me was really painful to hear.
It's pretty good though. That's what you sound like when you're flustered.
Like
you want to do it now?
like a frustrated pup.
Yeah, kind of. You sort of growl.
Do I?
There's
sort of kind of a sexy growl.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you mean? There's farts and Jesus on your. Okay. All right. Right. Should we talk about films then?
No, I want to talk about my algorithm.
Okay, we'll talk about it honestly and stop bringing.
You can't bring up your extended fart problem and then be offended when I reference it in the next sentence.
What I talked about before we started recording is that if all of our conversations overlap like this, then I can't edit them down.
I know.
If you just carry on talking about farting, how am I gonna cut out any of this?
I don't want it cut out. I want it in there.
Okay.
I want people to get to know us really deeply and truly.
Well, I might put a skip ahead to this time if you don't want to hear us talk about farts.
Yeah, but then it's just gonna be me randomly the whole way through the pod.
What, you're going to go the whole way through
Yeah.
to punish anyone who skipped the fart chat?
Yeah, they'll be like, what's the context for this? Because there's no way you will spend all day editing out every fart noise.
Dear fleapitpod@gmail.com, I was just wondering, what is the context of every 10 seconds in the show?
That'd be the most annoying podcast ever made.
I mean, it's already approaching that milestone.
It certainly is. Let's just burn.
I'm going to now give you your final chance to talk about the thing you want to talk about. And if you just talk about my farts, then we're moving on and talking about films.
Okay, all right. Well, it's a big week for me. I achieved something that I've been trying to achieve for a good few weeks now.
Right.
So I was shocked at my Instagram algorithm. You know, when you go to the search bar,
yeah,
and it just says here's things we think you would like.
I'm shocked at mine as well.
It's disgusting. Mine was just violence and tits, and I was like, I'm not that kind of guy.
Yeah, mine was just tits.
Well, that's great.
And
that's
to be fair, I'm closer to that kind of guy than the violence and tits kind of guy. But I don't think I've ever gone on Instagram and looked for tits or been give me some tits.
It's the AI or something is it's detected. It's put together some sort of case.
It's got
some subliminal messages you've been giving off. That's this guy loves tits.
It's measuring the brain signals.
Yeah,
somehow with the tiny momentary delays.
Yeah, or
involuntary
your
momentary
eyes
delays
hovering on something. Because I feel like I mostly just I don't even try and watch anything. But it must just be I'm scrolling through. I see my friend on holiday in the beach, and it's he's looking at her tits. We can tell by the fluttering of his eyes or something. And they're he'll love tits. Then they push more tits to me.
You know what I think happens to me is it'll be like a woman talking about drainage systems. There's not a euphemism. Some totally random thing, but with huge boobs almost out.
Yeah.
And I'm this is deranged. And so I will go on the comments to be
I love you. I think you're great.
I will go in the comments and ask her to marry me.
I'll do anything for you.
Because I'm confused and frustrated.
Yes, confused and frustrated.
Not sexually frustrated, just frustrated by this sort of weird, sort of pseudo pornographic content.
Yeah.
So I want to see what other people are saying about it, and want to check that they are also
just a bunch of confused guys.
That they're confused.
What the horde of confused fans.
But I think I would do the same if it was a guy with a big schlong, right? But I just don't know. I guess you can't have a big schlong out.
Could you do the suggestion of there's not really cleavage for schlong, is there? I suppose you could be stood up.
You could just have a hot topless guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose so. But that doesn't. But I think tits is a stronger pull than pecs.
Yeah,
tits are more powerful than pecs in the world of attention and business.
Yes.
Schlong is so low on the.
Schlong is weak.
So low. Yeah, it's in terms of like currency speculation. If you're investing in schlong,
But I don't know if
you're investing in schlong.
If you can have something, if you can have like a slight indication of a huge schlong, can get through the algorithm.
Is that not confidence?
Well, no, there was a video going around.
That whole thing with like big dick energy. That's a big dick energy.
Where it was like,
can't I just be a self-actualized, confident young man?
Wait, what?
I'm so tired of everyone saying I have such a big dick all the time.
I know you are, Luke. There was a video going around of like this girlfriend who was like, oh, look at this lovely thing my boyfriend got me for my birthday, or something like that. And it was genuinely a genuine video. But there was like one moment in the video where if you like paused it, you could see an outline in this guy's tracksuit bottoms of what appeared to be like a scandalously enormous throbbing
offensively giant.
Yeah. And it was like, not only did that video explode, there was like people
were commenting about
there were people doing like duets with the video. There were people doing like video essays about the video, people talking about just like making videos about the video where they're like, have you seen the video? They didn't even talk about it. Everyone knows what video they're talking about. And that kind of broke through the like that's the sort of exact precise point.
Yeah.
Like anything either side of that, more or less explicit, is like nothing. That's going nowhere.
That's where schlong,
that's dead on arrival.
That's the only slither of sort of exposure that.
That's the only slither of schlong tent.
Yeah.
That is that's gonna like get you like far up the charts.
Algorithmically desirable,
but
it's not easy.
But big tits give you a wide berth.
Yeah.
You can, anyway.
Yeah.
I think I made my point. I've also just interrupted your story that you're trying to tell.
No, it's all right. I enjoyed our little journey.
Are you burping?
Sorry.
I've enjoyed our little journey.
Sorry, I'm getting emotional because we're talking about tits so much. I'm finding it quite emotionally overwhelming.
Are you sure it wasn't... I mean, we have mostly been talking about schlongs. Are you sure it wasn't the schlongs?
It could have been the schlongs.
Could have been the schlongs.
Yes. But anyway, I was sick of this. I was like, I don't want this content anymore. I don't want Instagram to think I'm like a teenage boy still. I have sophisticated interests now. So I went on a campaign.
I'm grown up, Instagram.
I went on a campaign to trick my algorithm into thinking I was a standout guy.
Right.
So what I did was exclusively share and like pictures of Jesus. I sent to loads of people, absolutely loads of people, and this week, Sam, I successfully achieved 100% Jesus content on my Instagram algorithm, and I could not be more pleased with myself.
What?
And I gained Chriso followers.
Christians are following you because of your Jesus.
Yeah, because I'm liking all their Jesus memes, and they're famously. Very like, let's get extra members. So now I've got a Christian fan base.
Oh my God. But what benefit does this... Do you enjoy looking at Jesus content?
Some of it's pretty good, yeah.
I mean, look,
it's no tits. But it's...
Would you say you have any religious faith or any relationship to Christianity?
I mean, no, not really. Well, like, I guess in the way that most Westerners, the law is kind of Chriso law. Like, implicitly.
Okay, all right. So
but no, not in a way that.
So you have a relationship to Jesus in the same way you have a relationship to Henry VIII.
Yes,
the Celts.
Yes, it's a very good.
Okay.
I mean, I went to religious school.
Yeah,
and that was Jesus. That was pretty pro Jesus.
Right.
But they liked other religions too.
Yeah.
It was quite funny. In my primary school, it was like you got bullied if you were an atheist.
Did you consider trying to get Instagram to show you content that you would sort of actually want to see and is representative of you and your interests?
No. I want to get off Instagram completely.
Okay.
So I thought if it showed me content that I had little to no interest in,
Right.
I'd be like, Instagram's so boring. So when you're coming in being like, oh my God, there's so many tits, I can't get off this thing. It's great, but I hate myself. I'm genuinely like, oh, it's fucking just Jesus stuff. This goddamn algorithm is rubbish.
Okay, but what you clearly have just said, you would like, it's showing me all these tits, but I have no interest in tits. I don't want to see tits. And what you have hugely contradicted yourself there by saying you needed the Jesus content because you kept going on seeing the tits and going, this is so good, I can't get off this thing. I love how many tits there are. Well, I think you've forgotten that you're pretending that you didn't like the tit content.
No, I'm not pretending. I do like the tit content. Of course I like the tit content. But I like the tit content too much. Like, I stopped watching pornography a good few years ago because I was worried about the ethical implications of, like, has this person been human trafficked? But there is also a thing. I like watching tits. Like, my animal side of my brain is still like, oh, this is the best thing I've ever seen.
Right.
And Instagram has found this really sneaky way of being like, this isn't quite pornography, but boy, does it make you feel the same way. And
so you basically done the equivalent of
I'm trying to be a good
replacing
person.
all the chicken shops in your local area with Anglican churches.
With churches, yeah.
So now you can't just walk past and start drooling when you see a wing.
Although
or
I
a
do
chicken breast,
worry it's also leading me because I
is
think
a metaphor for the human
for
breast.
human memories. That was a repulsive sentence I just said. I'm sorry. My worry though is that now, because I'm going to become a less like the modern world is full of like overexposure of sex content.
Okay,
Everything's very sexual. Even like
right.
general advertising can be
So
quite sexy.
okay, and basically you're a bit worried that you're not going to see enough tits anymore.
Yeah, and I'm a bit worried now. I'll be on the tube and I'll see like an advert for like,
Right.
oh, you should get like shaving cream, and it'll just be a lady in a bikini. I'll be like,
Okay. Have you considered, and I will say to any listeners, that I really, really didn't think I would be lowering the tone of this podcast further. But have you considered masturbating?
No, I'm a Christian.
Oh yeah, okay, you're a Christian. you decide to have a wank, and then see the judging eyes of the Lord looking down on you at every app that you open, and go,
Catholic shame told me never to do this. So now what I have to do is just wait and hope that I have a wet dream. And that's the only relief I have.
Great.
But they're never any good, the dreams.
Luckily, I've not watched much this week. I have one thing I've watched other than our feature film, The Monkey, which we'll get into soon. is Don't look at me like you want to go back to the conversation we were having. Don't look at me.
I was just looking at you.
Don't look at me like, oh, we're moving on, are we? Are we moving on?
I didn't have that in my face. I was just looking. I always look at you when you're speaking.
I'm the professional.
I'm the boss. I'm sorry.
I've been watching a show called Common Side Effects, which is a new show that's just come out on Adult Swim in the US, which usually makes kind of kooky,
cartoons,
weird comedies and things like that. It's where Rick and Morty is on, obviously.
Yes.
This show, Common Side Effects, is a 20-minute animation, and it is sort of a comedy, but not. It is a comedy and it is consistently quite funny, but it's really like a long-form, serious kind of crime mystery story.
Oh.
And I would say it feels more like a kind of serious crime mystery drama that is funny than a comedy first. So it feels quite different to any other Adult Swim stuff.
Is it a little bit like
I've watched?
BoJack Horseman is kind of a
No. It's way more
comedy.
directly a drama than BoJack Horseman.
Okay.
BoJack Horseman is still like really silly and over the top. This is has a lot more of a serious tone, and you're watching it a lot. You're watching it. I think you have to watch it primarily for the plot. it's not just you know, there's like a lot of funny moments and funny lines of dialogue, but yeah, it's more of a drama, I would say. It looks really good. The animation is really great. The characters are very like grotesque. And the premise is this kind of hippie scientist guy who lives out in the woods by himself has discovered a mushroom that can cure every disease in the world.
Oh, great.
And basically bring people back to life when they're on the brink of death. And it is about him trying to investigate this mushroom, but the DEA and evil big pharma corporations are on his tail and want to stop him, because if this gets out, then they won't be able to make money from selling all their drugs and blah, 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 blah.
Shit.
So
that's a good premise. I like that. That's fine.
It's a good premise.
It's a bit science fiction-y.
It is, yeah. It's science fiction, but like most of the science fiction that I actually like is it just has one simple science fiction premise and is not like in a crazy sci-fi world. It's in a kind of set in modern day America.
Yeah, like let's look at this one thing.
Yeah. And it's like, what are the implications of that? I like the show. It looks great. The performances are great. It's consistently really funny, and it's quite engaging. I would say that I'm only like 3 episodes in. I would say I'm not like as hooked as I thought I might be. And I'm not 100% sure of why that is. I think probably because it's in these 20-minute episode formats, they need to kind of accelerate the plot quite quickly. So it's quite a lot of stuff happening, but not a ton of kind of character development or characters that I really like care about. The only character, there's like the main character you kind of care about, and then there's also this woman who's friends with him, but he doesn't know that she secretly works for Big Pharma. And it's like, is she going to be a goodie or a baddie? You don't know. And yeah, it's engaging, and I'm going to keep watching it. And I think there are a lot of people out there who would really, really love it. I like it, and I'm going to finish the series and report back on the pod whether I got more into it and whether it's a definite recommend. But I think you should give it a go.
Well, I'm excited. I will give it a go. How about that?
You should. I'm glad. It's called Common Side Effects.
Common Side Effects. You want to hear what I've been watching?
Yes.
So you know I got big on Jesus.
Yeah.
This movie clips kept coming up from this movie that's not about Jesus, but it's about a guy who's Jesus adjacent. His name's Noah.
Okay. I've heard of him.
You know of Noah?
We talking about like the main Noah?
Yeah, the Noah.
Noah, not all the babies called Noah.
Ark
Noah.
Noah's Ark.
Did you know Noah's the most common baby name in the US?
Noah.
Most common boy's name in the US.
I'm always so intrigued.
Or maybe in the UK, actually. I can't remember.
That's interesting. I always find it fascinating what names from the Bible become popular and what ones don't.
Yeah.
Because there's so many that are hugely popular.
It feels weird that Noah would like just be coming now. Like, why would Noah just be hitting now?
Well, maybe it's because of this movie.
Maybe it's because of Darren Aronofsky's Noah.
Yeah.
From when was it made? Like 2014 or something?
Something like that. And I mean, Noah is not a good guy in it. He's actually
it's like an anti-hero. Well, it's like the Joker of Noah.
Well, no. What's great about this is, so apparently, from what I read, it's the most accurate to the Bible as they could possibly get.
The most accurate to the mad story of the guy who...
To the thousands of year old story from the Old Testament.
But I imagine the Noah story is like, and then he took all the animals on the ark, and then the world drowned, and then...
Yeah.
Like, how...
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Brother, no. This movie's fucking bonkers.
Okay.
This movie's insane. But I was going to say, I mean, he's got, sticking on the names theme, he's got a son called Ham.
Oh.
Ham.
And they kept that in.
And that name's not. No one's going ham for the name Ham.
Wait, did Ham survive in the boat with him?
Yeah, quite a few people survived in the boat.
Right.
It's his family. But
Yeah.
what's hilarious is so there's so much crazy shit that happens in this movie. For one, Noah is a cunt. Like he lets many people die, refuses to help people actively.
Yeah.
And so the premise is like we all know the premise, right? Like God tells him, like, look, there's going to be a flood. And
God's like, I'm fucked off with all these fucking people. I'm going to kill all of them.
Yeah.
If you want to survive, build a big boat.
Yeah.
And Noah's like, great, you're all loving.
Okay,
and this makes perfect sense.
But also, God
I
is
see
not,
no contradiction in what you're saying.
God never does anything directly, right? He just figures out the signs.
Noah figures out the signs.
Yeah. So he has like dreams, and he takes
Right.
acid at one point.
Maybe you coming your pants is a sign from God.
I should be coming more. A great flood is coming, Luke.
I think God
No
should...
one will survive.
Tell me if this is a hot take. I think God should not give signs through dreams.
I agree.
Because then every dream you have to figure out whether it's a sign from God. And I really don't want to have to figure out, the dream where I was in Israel and a man cut off his own arm in front of me and then told me it was a joke and I should grow up. I don't have to figure out whether that's a sign from God. I just want to forget about that dream.
So, guys, I've done something really embarrassing in Israel.
Yeah, I mean, it was in Israel. That's quite a God sort of place, isn't it?
It really is. And not a place you want to be making.
I think it was just because it was on the news at the time.
Incorrect.
Yeah. I'm probably not going to go to Israel and cut off my own arm.
That's good.
What's happening?
So we're talking about Noah. It's a crazy movie. There's like a bunch of like angels who are rock monsters. They look like Bionicle. From
Bionicle from Bionicle.
Yeah, they look like those guys, and they're all depressed because they're like, we tried to help humanity, and now we're rock monsters, and God hates us, and I don't know what we're doing here.
Did they then sing Rock Monster to the tune of Rock Lobster?
I mean, it wouldn't be ill-fitting, but it's got like such a.
So is he? I'm sorry. No, go on.
Yeah. So anyway, and it's kind of a boring movie. It's really serious and bleak, and is very Darren Aronofsky in the way that it's just like, this is so depressing.
Yeah.
And basically, Noah gets his whole family, who's a bunch of people, onto this boat. He gets two of every animal, and everyone has a sex partner apart from his son Ham.
Right.
And Ham's arc.
So he's gonna have a pick. Ham's gonna have a pick of the offspring.
Well, no. How
old is Ham?
Ham's like a 20-year-old or something.
Okay.
A prime shagging man.
Okay.
But Noah has
Sorry
someone...
for bringing paedophilia back into it.
That's all right. It was a different time. But Noah is got a partner. His daughter has a partner.
Okay.
Everyone has a partner. And Noah's old. He's Russell Crowe. He's old as fuck. So you're like, young people should be doing the sexual intercourse.
I mean, Russell Crowe, I think 2014 Russell Crowe's still got some...
He's got a bit of swagger.
Got some babies up in him.
Yeah, but...
Got some stuff to deliver.
But if you're renewing the population, you want some hot, young seed, no?
I think sperm is sperm, basically.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think if it gets in there, I don't think it's like...
No, I think it goes off.
It goes off eventually, but I think
there's no way a kid born to like a 90-year-old is like stronger than a kid born to me or you.
I think sperm is. I think the womb is like a banana, right? It like you see it like peaks and then goes off, and it's like a constant curve, right? Calm is like an avocado, right? Calm is like when it's ready. Great, it's amazing, and then all of a sudden, like, you don't want to be touching that thing. All of a sudden, you give it a feel, and your thumb like goes through the skin, and you're like, there's nothing.
This is making me feel gross.
Yeah,
icky.
When you peel an avocado, there's no bit of an avocado that you're like, is this a nice bit or is this a horrible bit?
It's either
you're like, it's either
rock
green
hard
green and delicious, or rock hard, or black
mush. Yeah.
Should I publish that?
Publish it? In what, like a scientific?
I just like
in a scientific journal?
I don't know. Just in some. I'm just quite proud of that analogy.
I'm proud. The swell of emotion in your voice.
Okay, so you are being horrible to me today.
No.
No, sorry. Go on.
I think we need to look at your self-esteem. This ChatGPT is not helping you.
ChatGPT is helping. Helping more than you, cunt.
Oh my god. Where were we at with the movie?
You say it's quite a boring movie.
It's quite a boring movie.
You really watched this because all the Jesus content was subliminally influencing you.
Well, no, Noah kept coming up, and I was like, I've not watched that movie. I remember people talking about that movie, and it's bananas. And then it's okay. So anyway, sorry, I was talking about Ham's subplot. Ham's subplot is like he's just trying to get laid.
Okay.
And he's just trying to find a wife.
Wow.
And there's a huge local human population, and Noah is so against him having anyone on this arc. Despite the fact that Ham, from his perspective, this arc is going to be the worst thing in the world because everyone he's knows,
never going to see another woman again.
Yeah.
There's going to be no single women.
There's no one he can have sex with. There's his
years.
mother and his sister.
Right.
They're off limits. But then worse than that, so he has to watch them get it on the whole time. But then he also has to watch every single species in the entire planet on one boat have this crazy mega orgy to repopulate the human Earth. And he's just there. And his name is Ham.
Yeah. And that's like and my name is Ham. As if things weren't bad enough.
And it was like, Noah's just fucking ruining this kid.
Why?
And there's even
when Ham's like, can I not just pick up one more lady and bring her on the ark? Noah's like, no, you bloody can't, Ham.
Worse than that, Noah lets her die. That's exactly what happens. Noah goes to the village, finds this lovely yet lady. He's like, I can save you.
Ham goes to the village.
Ham goes to the village of like the non-believers or whatever, the people that God's not happy about. There's a woman in a cage. She seems lovely. Ham's like, I've got an ark. I can save you. And then he's running away.
Why is she in a cage?
I don't know. The sinners.
Then she's like a sinner in the town of sinners.
I get,
does that mean she's extra bad, or does that go back round and she's good again?
Well, I think it implies she's good, right? Or she's an innocent victim.
Okay.
Something. Anyway, Ham rescues her, and then Ham's running away from the villagers chasing her. Noah just fully pushes her in the mud, and then she gets trampled to death in front of Ham.
Oh no!
And then Noah's like, "Get on that fucking ark, you virgin! Get on that fucking ark now!"
Right.
And then he's just on this sex boat. He's on this sex cruise with no one. He's a virgin
on a sex cruise.
Yeah, and it's the end of the world.
And then does the movie end?
No. This is like the first half hour.
Okay.
And then Noah just...
This movie sounds longer than this podcast.
Oh, God, it's long. God, it's long. And then Noah turns crazy, starts trying to kill the babies that his daughter has. And then they're all like, Noah, you're being really miserable and rubbish.
Yeah.
And they're sailing past people who are just dying on islands. They're like, no, should we bring some of these people on? He's like, no, they're bad. And then they finally get to the flood subsides or whatever, and then Noah just gets really drunk and is just like a drunk mess.
How does the flood subside? Because if you get to a point where all land is covered by water, where does the water go?
I don't know. Rain. God moves it. It's just gone.
Rain. God moves it.
It doesn't explain that bit. God does it.
Okay.
But then it's over.
Well, why doesn't God just kill all the... Why doesn't God just go... If God can just, like, move loads of water... If God is going to break physics and just move loads of water, why doesn't he just snap his fingers and kill everyone?
Well, you'd think that, but God... I don't know. Russell Crowe has a vision, and he's like, water. He's using water because it destroys, but it also renews. That's what Noah says.
I think in this context, it only destroys.
Yes. Well, no, because at the end, there's, like...
I don't think anyone's watching, like...
land.
The 2001 tsunami or whenever that was 2005 I don't remember.
So refreshing to have a restart,
so renewing for Haiti or whatever. I think I'm confusing my tsunamis.
Well, you don't want to do that.
No.
But also what's crazy is there's this character in the beginning 10 minutes who's Noah's
What's crazy
dad.
is everything that I've said so far.
No, this is the bit that bothers me most about the movie. There's this character called Methuselah.
Okay, I'm aware of Methuselah as a biblical
old man. And he's played by Anthony Hopkins.
Right.
And they do this weird scene where they give Methuselah a backstory. Like, he turns up and is like, I'm Methuselah. And then it does this little sort of almost Quentin Tarantino-esque thing where they do a cut back to, like, a flashback to his life that's really short.
Right.
And it is literally Methuselah going, yeah, back in the day, I saved the rock monsters from all of the evil people. And there's a charging army at him, and he pulls out a sword, stabs it into the ground, everything explodes in flames.
Okay.
And then it
and
goes,
how's he done that?
And that's Methuselah. And you're like, why did
Wow.
I have so many questions.
Yeah, how did he do the sword trick? Was that God?
Don't know.
Or was he magic?
Doesn't explain it.
I can't believe God got rid of rock monsters and magic dudes.
Yeah. And like Methuselah's the coolest guy. He knows everything that's going on.
And he drowns.
Presumably.
Well, I guess he's not repopulating the world, is he? He's old.
So old. He's like 900 years old.
Yeah.
He does do a cool thing.
He's actually 900 years old?
Yeah. Emma
Right.
Watson is like Noah's daughter.
Emma Watson?
Emma Watson's in it. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Emma Watson is like, oh, my uterus doesn't work. Anthony Hopkins
Right.
turns up and goes, bing! Yes, it does.
Right.
And then she can have kids. And then Noah tries to kill the kids later. It's a mess. And anyway, that's the movie. And it's
Okay,
just
good?
like, no.
Right.
With this, I don't know, but it's kind of good. I would watch it, but it's like, you'll just be like, huh?
Yeah, Darren Aronofsky seems to make deranged stuff. I've never seen Mother, which also is apparently a huge
Mother's
biblical
even
metaphor.
worse.
But yeah, I imagine it would annoy me hugely.
Yeah.
And you know, Requiem for a Dream is great if miserable.
Yeah.
Black Swan is pretty good.
Yeah.
So he's clearly. I wonder if he just needs other people to write the movies and pick the movies for him, and then he can
probably
direct them.
He's a...
Does Noah look good? Is it
Yeah.
like visually
Yeah.
good, seeing everything get water on it?
Yeah, it looks sick.
Nice.
And there's giants in it at some point for no reason. which I
Giants,
can't remember
separate to the rock monsters.
why. Yeah. Giant humans walking around.
Oh, okay.
And also
they drown as well.
No, they just walk away. I don't really know what happens to
Okay,
them.
so they're fine. So giants still exist.
And also all the humans are like semi-merged with animals. So
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about the movie Noah.
I know, but you're just
This is how it's
all
presented.
the people are merged with animals.
This is how it's presented.
What, so they're
in the
like
movie.
mermaids and
No. So they'll have like little flares of animals around them. So for example, Russell, who's the guy in it? Ray Winston's in it. As
Russell
a
Crowe.
Bad man.
Russell Crowe has a crow.
But it is this sort of stuff. Like, so Ray Winston has like little sort of feathers on his back, and it's
Okay.
implied he's like
A chicken.
something. But apparently it's some biblical stuff,
Right.
and because they're like animalistic.
Yeah, I think a lot of the things you're saying you could append with apparently it's some biblical stuff as an explanation. I'm going to give Darren Aronofsky the benefit of the doubt and assume that it is some biblical stuff that's happening.
Darren Aronofsky's
and that
like
he's not just ill.
no, he's a big fanatical Christian.
Yeah.
That's why this movie's so, and like he was like, I want it to be pure, and making
Yeah.
it pure has made it completely incoherent
Wow.
and mental. And Noah looks like such a bad guy.
I think it seems to me quite a good argument against religion because it sounds like Darren Aronofsky might well have made a better film were he not a massive Christian.
Yes, possibly.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. I don't know if this movie was like beloved by Christians or hated by it, or because it's so ambiguous.
I don't think Noah's a beloved movie.
Yeah, but is
My
that from the
understanding.
Crizzos or is that from the the non-believers, the infidels?
I don't know.
I think it's kind of a fun watch to watch with
Yeah.
someone and be like, huh? A what?
How long is it?
It's so long. Thousands of years old.
Did you want to watch it? Or were you like this will be interesting to talk about?
I was curious.
Okay.
I'm not glad I watched it, but I'm not
I'm glad you watched it.
Yeah. I would
God.
like you to watch it.
Yeah, I really would. I'm frustrated by the idea of it.
It's
Maybe I will.
It's a frustrating experience. I mean, it's also hilarious though. It's hilarious how out of his way Noah goes to cuck his son. It's like so brutally unfair.
This week's movie is The Monkey, based on a short story by Stephen King. It's a new horror comedy, I would say.
I would say comedy horror.
Comedy horror.
I would put it that way round.
Yeah, I would agree. And it is about. We won't give away much of the movie, but a very basic premise is two twin boys find a toy wind-up monkey that belonged to their dad, and every time they play with the monkey, some bad things happen. Luke, tell me what you thought about the monkey.
I had a pretty good time watching it. It was all right. It was not the best movie. It was not the worst movie. I loved the premise. I'd say it's better than average. I had some problems with it, I guess, or some things that I felt, for me, I would have changed a bit. I thought the ending was great. Premise was great, and it was like fun. But I thought it could have been excellent if it had been executed slightly differently, or tonally slightly differently. And some of the comedy didn't work for me. Yeah, but I still had a fun time. I didn't go into it with like ragingly high hopes. Although one thing that is criminal is the whole reason I wanted to watch this movie is because it had the best line in the trailer, which was, "Remember that monkey that kills our family?
The monkey that kills our family is back."
It's back. That wasn't in the movie.
Yeah, it's not in the movie.
Bullshit,
I
mate.
thought maybe I'd misremembered the line from the trailer.
No, it's just not in the movie.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't notice in the movie. And I was like, there was that phone call scene quite near the beginning, which starts, and I was like, oh, here it is. And they didn't do it. And I was like, that is the sole reason I watched this movie.
Yeah.
Because I thought that was what I was there for. So it felt like a little bit of a downgrade from what I was expecting it to be, but it was kind of, it wasn't bad, I didn't think. It's very genre specific. Some people will hate this movie because and it felt sort of like a bit of a Seth Rogen horror movie, maybe, but not Seth Rogen's funniest movie.
Like the sort of okay.
Well, like This Is the End. Have you seen This Is the End? Mm-hmm. Felt very sort of similar to that, but This Is the End I personally find hilarious.
Right.
But it's really boosted by so many Hollywood cameos, and like the whole cast is taking the piss.
Yeah.
And this movie had that same self-awareness of like, it knows it's a dumb premise.
Yeah.
So it's having fun the whole time.
Yeah.
And not taking itself very seriously. But I didn't feel all of the jokes were like that. Just at points it just missed for me. And then there was bits that I thought were like pretty good. There was no bit where I was like, oh, amazingly fucking hilarious. And I felt there was real big opportunity for that.
Yeah.
But I did love What's-His-Face's performance. I thought he was really good in it, the main guy. Theo James, yeah. I thought Theo James was great in it. I thought he gave a good, fun performance. And I think his like comedy timing is good and whatnot. But I didn't feel like, as a whole, the movie was like super fantastic. And it could well have been, if this movie was done well, it could have been my favorite movie ever.
You feel like it had a lot of potential that it didn't quite meet.
Yeah.
What was it that fell short? Was it, are you saying that some of the humor not hitting that much was the big problem, or what were the issues for you?
I think some of the pacing was maybe a little bit off. Like it sort of, like there was a flashback at the beginning that like lasts for ages and ages and ages.
Do you mean the first act of the movie, which is
with them as kids? No, there was a few
That's
things.
not a flashback lasting for ages.
No.
You're
right.
The first third of the movie is them as kids, and then it's like
No, I felt like
20 years later.
I don't know how to explain this without spoilers. There's a few plot points that I think could have been, which I thought were good in the sense of like, this is what should happen. But I felt the pacing and maybe it sort of like there's a point where it could have been quite a mysterious bit in the third act where you're like, who is responsible for this? But that's not really left to be a mystery in the movie. It's told to you straight away almost. And you're like, this could have been a really good tension builder and still maintained all the comedy and all this sort of stuff. So it felt like a bit of a like missed opportunity. But then I thought the very final end scene I thought was really great. And I was like, this is a really great way to end this movie. And I sort of felt it was because kind of a trash movie, right? Like it's a self-aware B movie almost.
Yeah. And it's very silly. It doesn't take itself seriously at all.
I'm well on board for that.
Yeah.
I love a trashy B movie, whether it's self-aware or not. But I felt like this was almost sometimes it was almost in that camp of like it was. Because it was so self-aware, it actually had the opportunity to be really, really great, but it doesn't quite go there. But it's also not unself-aware enough to be so bad it's good. So it sort of sits in that weird, not quite magnificent, but kind of good and lots of potential in there, I felt.
Yeah.
But not a bad movie. I had a fun time. I was like, it's sort of fun stoner movie, I would say.
Right. I really liked it. Okay. I had a really good time. I don't disagree with much of what you're saying. But I thought this was a really fun movie. It is totally silly. It is not really scary at all.
No.
It's by Osgood Perkins, who made Longlegs, which came out last year. Longlegs, I really liked until it totally fell apart in the last act. But Longlegs was, although kind of kooky, was very much more an actual horror.
Yeah, it was such a strong atmosphere.
Yeah,
it was like Silence of the Lambs, but
the monkey is just silly, over the top, ridiculous from start to finish. There's constant jokes. Is like silly circus music in the background a lot of the time, which, is sometimes ominous, but quite often just dumb and fun and silly. I actually loved the music. It had a lot of kind of retro tunes popping up, giving a, really adding to the sense of ridiculousness of it all. One of the things I weirdly liked about it is it's full of what I think is basically deliberately bad dialogue.
Yeah.
And I think a good example, even though it's not in the movie, is the monkey that likes killing your family is back, right?
That's in the trailer ever.
There's loads of lines in the movie that are just like that, where they're doing things. They're stating things so bluntly that movies try and do subtly, and it's kind of okay. This is a really simple example, but they introduce the babysitter character, and they just call the babysitter character Babysitter Annie.
Yeah.
They're like, should we go for dinner with Babysitter Annie? Not even should we go for dinner. They're like, hi, Babysitter Annie, to the babysitter. Whereas every other movie is coming up with a careful way to right, how do we do some exposition here to explain the character? And they do everything so bluntly and so obviously. It's pretty hard to explain without seeing it. I wrote down some lines as I was watching the movie that made me laugh like this. There's a line, I'm just a kid who doesn't buy many houses. Just nonsense lines like that in the movie. It can teleport and you know it. Really cheesy, stupid lines like that, but are done, like I say, with such self-awareness, because it's by a director and a writer who knows what he's doing. And I found that really funny. It's a great start to the movie. It actually does start with a very short flashback before starting with the longer flashback. It starts with this really silly scene with Adam Scott doing a cameo, and you see the introduction of the monkey. And someone's killed in this really gruesome way. And it perfectly establishes the tone of the movie. It's really funny. It's really stupid. It's hyper gory, but not in a way that you can't look and you're going, no. Yeah. It's cartoonishly gory. There's a lot of people who are
it's very Final Destination-y, but with a comedic soundtrack.
Yeah, there's a lot of similarities to draw with Final Destination. The deaths are really good, but they're not. It's not like in Final Destination where you're going, oh no.
Yeah,
it's pure, just enjoying it, and it's people. You don't see people brutally get there, have these brutal attacks. You see people's whole body explode.
Yeah.
It's really cartoonish and over the top.
There's also got those ones where people getting impaled by things that would never impale.
Yeah.
It's what are these people made out of?
Yeah. Totally unrealistic deaths.
Yeah.
But very funny. I think the performances are great. I think the kids. So there's twins in the movie, and the twins are played by a young kid and then by Theo James as an adult. Theo James is great, you're right. I actually think the young kid is really good as well.
Yeah.
I think he more convincingly plays two different people than Theo James does as an adult. Theo James's twins are look quite similar. Feel quite similar.
It took me a long time to realize they were the same actors.
I wasn't sure. I wasn't 100% sure if the two kids who play identical twins were the same actor, because It's basically one is like a kind of dweeby nerdy kid, and one is like a high school bully. And I'm
Jock
like,
kid
good
with
on
a cool
that
chain.
kid's got range.
Yeah,
This like 12-year-old kid's got fucking range. It's full of jokes. And a lot of them, some of them are not great. It's quite sort of broad American Hollywood sort of humor.
Well, that's sort of what I felt like with it being like sort of Seth Rogen-y a little bit.
Yeah,
but at his like, it actually almost made me think of American Pie at times,
right?
In the really like on the nose bits of it. I don't want to. I think I sounded highly critical of it as well when I started. I do want to say like I did really enjoy the movie.
Yeah,
but there was like bits in it where I was a little bit like frustrated, and I don't know if that's like an intentional thing.
That's true for me.
Or that was something, because for me the experience was just like I was a bit like, oh, it's so annoying. If it was just subtly different, I would have like loved that scene or something. And it was like it was really up and down for me in that sort of feeling.
Right. I would say I was consistently really enjoying it for the first 2/3, the first 2 acts of the movie, really. It's an hour and 40 minutes as well. It doesn't feel like it overstays its welcome at all. 1 hour 38.
Fantastic length.
And yeah, even though some of the jokes don't hit, some really do hit and are like, I don't know, you just don't see many really funny movies at the cinema anymore. Like there's a great moment where there's like a kid crying in a funeral about someone who's died, and then the movie just like pans to the right and there's this mental guy with huge sideburns who looks like an Elvis impersonator just sitting next to him pulling this weird expression. And it's just so, I don't know, it's almost like I don't know, old airplane movies or something like that. So silly and
played completely
excited about
straight.
How silly it is. That really like made me chuckle. And even though a lot of the jokes weren't really hitting, I never felt like, God, that was shit. It was just like they were I still enjoyed the tone of it even when they weren't hilarious. I think the movie went quite off the rails in the 3rd act. And you're right, I think the very end of it is great, and that pulled it back for me. And
the very final scene is
overall
really
I was
good.
like, you know what, I had a great time. I think a lot of times I find movies go off the rails in the 3rd act and I end up coming out feeling really negative.
Also, especially horror movies. Horror movies are so, because that was exactly my feeling with Long Legs. Long Legs I was so immersed in until the very final. It was almost like the final 2 scenes pretty much. I was like, what? Fine.
Right.
But the whole movie was captivating until that.
Long Legs does. I do like Long Legs overall, but I think the 3rd act is not. They don't really pull it off. In the 3rd act in this, it changes direction, and I found it quite sort of frustrating, and I also basically didn't understand the motivation for the characters and specifically like the villain in the movie. And it made me think about something which I've been thinking about a bit actually in relations to Severance, which I've been watching and really enjoying the 2nd season of. Is that there's a thing that can happen in movies and TV where something happens and you go like, what? Why would that happen? Like that person wouldn't do that. And you're like frustrated seeing that because it's like pulls you out. And then later on in the movie or the TV show, it's then explained why that happened. And you go, oh, okay, that does make sense. And I've been trying to figure out like how I feel about that and when that works for me and when it doesn't. Because some of the time I'm like, oh, that's so great. That thing's explained and it's so clever. And other times it's like, oh, okay, the thing did make sense. But I still had this feeling of frustration and being pulled out of the movie while it was happening. And for some reason with this movie, I don't know if you sort of know, we can talk about it more in spoilers.
I think
the whole kind of direction of the final act, I was kind of like, why is this happening? What is the point of this? Where's it like? And for some reason,
because you feel like it could have been achieved in a sense that was like there were motivations.
Yes,
It's not like
I thought that massively.
I
They
thought
could have done something similar. I don't know whether it was
keeping to the short story or whatever. I think probably not, based on apparently short story is really short, but
because I was worried I missed something.
Yes,
that was actually how I felt in the.
It does. It feels kind of confusing.
And also I didn't. There were
why are we going this direction?
Yeah, and there were a few things as well with the monkey itself where I was a bit like, and we've spoken about this before about like when you're dealing with something supernatural, you really want a clear sense of the rules. At some point, it doesn't have to be immediately given to you.
Yes.
But to get the stakes and build tension, you have to know what the rules are. So that if something happens, they can show you a dramatic increase of like, no, if they do that, then it's going to cause this. Whereas the rules of the monkey are actually quite vague.
Yeah, which they're fairly oblique until the end of the movie when there's maybe explained slightly more.
Yeah, but there's an element of like it just sort of felt not clear rather than it being, they are intentionally keeping it vague to create a sense of tension or whatever, or unknown disorientation. It sort of felt like I was like, wait, something's not quite like fitting together neatly here. I think I should have done.
I think part of the reason you feel that frustration, and I felt that frustration in the final act, is because it starts to go in a more, as a lot of like comedic movies do, goes in a more kind of plot driven direction, and it's less kind of just funny, campy, silly stuff happening, and more like, okay, now we're doing the plot and we're getting to the big crescendo and resolving the thing. And because it's less silly and kooky, it's sort of asking you to get more involved in the reality of it, and yet that reality is not like is not really explained that well. And I do quite like the movie takes the piss out of itself massively, and there's actually a great moment in the final scene where basically like a plot hole is mentioned by a character, and another character's like, oh yeah. And it's really funny, but that's because they're like it's totally goes back to just taking the piss out of itself. And it's not frustrating at all. It actually goes back to being what I wanted. What is frustrating is when it sort of slightly goes in the direction of a slightly more conventional story arc, where it's like we're building up tension and then it kind of falls to pieces a little bit. But when it's just trying to be silly, over the top, gory, goofy fun, I think it is that really well. I know a lot of people were like, yeah, it's a good time, it's fine, and been like, it's sort of a 3-star movie. I think for me it is better than it was and I don't normally do ratings on this because I want to be like more complex in my thoughts, but for me it was a 4-star movie. It was great, fun. And I saw it with my girlfriend Laura, and she was like, what like a fun time in the cinema that was, and I totally agree. And I think it was never going to be a masterpiece, and you're right, there's definitely things wrong with it and things that frustrated me about it, but I never stopped having a fun time with it. And I think especially if I was like a bit drunk and watching it with friends or in a full cinema, it would be a really good time. So I liked it and would recommend, despite its faults. And I'm still excited to see what Osgood does next, even if he's never had like a full runaway.
No, but his movies are like memorable. Fuck, like Long Legs,
and actually really different. Long Legs and The Monkey, which came out within a year of each other.
No, it's mad.
Are really very different. And you feel quite unique as well.
I feel like he has all the tools to make something genuinely insanely good. Like he could create a real masterpiece. And it's just like it feels like, all right, when will that happen?
Nice. So a fun old time, but if you find it a bit frustrating at points, don't blame us for that. Should we get into spoilers quickly?
Let's get
spoilers for The Monkey starting now.
The ending scene of the twin suddenly being evil.
So it's basically
like obsessed with the monkey and just killing
the main character, discovers that his estranged twin has gone evil and decided to start killing people randomly with the monkey. And it's revealed at the end that he wanted to he was doing this because he wanted to try and kill his brother. Because he was annoyed at his brother for killing his mum, and just like I think just funny because it's so stupid and so over the top.
Yeah.
Like he's just killing hundreds and hundreds of people in the most brutal way, in the chance that eventually it might kill his brother.
Well, it's like it's almost a metaphor for gambling addiction, isn't it?
Yeah.
And also, you could just go and murder him.
Right. And it just like exactly so stupid. I kind of enjoyed him just being a totally over the top villain.
Yeah,
like even as a kid, he's just like a horrible asshole kid.
Yeah.
Like no real justification. None of the modern thing to do of being like, he's a complicated villain. No, let's just make him like a sort of
he's a maniac,
unforgivable cunt.
Yeah,
and the bit the line I was alluding to earlier really made me laugh when the brothers. The main guy's like, she's my mum too. And the villain's like, oh yeah, I didn't think of it like that. Yeah, I guess things are fine. So stupid for a movie to just like totally undermine itself like that. Really makes me laugh. And because of the tone of the movie, it wasn't. I don't know if some movies did that, it would be annoying and feel like it was taking away stakes. But
because for me the jokes that were kind of annoying was like the one where he went to shake his hand and then was like nah, and then did it twice, and I was like just get on with it. But yeah, that sort of like really genuinely sort of meta ridiculous stuff was good.
But yeah, I think the thing that was frustrating to me, it was sort of I was less interested when his like son was introduced and they tried to kind of introduce some like emotional stakes that I kind of wasn't getting on board with so much. I got on board with more with the emotional stakes of the mum when they were kids, who I thought was a great performance from the mum. But then the new kid that they've had, PE, I kind of didn't really care that much about. And then it came up. Then it was the whole thing of his new brother wanting Peachy to use the monkey. And I was just like, why is this happening? Why? Like, I just didn't understand it at all. And it did sort of explain it in the end. And the idea is that when the villain was using the monkey didn't want to kill his brother. But he thought maybe if his brother's kid used it, then the monkey would feel differently and that would work in killing the brother. Kind of. I mean, the whole movie's stupid, so it doesn't really matter if the explanation's stupid. But
I mean, I also found I had a bit of a tricky situation in which I didn't understand why he started thinking the monkey, because there wasn't a sense that these random murders started happening again,
right?
To me, where there was like, I know he gets the phone call from his brother being like, the monkey's back and it's killing people. But it's like one person had died at that point. Something. And I was like, it didn't have a sense of like, oh, the monkey's come back and there's a mystery of why has the monkey come back. I didn't feel like there was any sort of like curiosity why that's happening or anything like that, which I kind of felt was a little bit of a missed thing. So I thought it could have been fun if they weren't sure if the dad was back, and then it turned out it was the brother.
Right.
Or I thought that was
they could have played more around with that
which
mystery.
I thought would have actually been quite fun. And also campy and a bit of a, throw in a red herring of something, which I thought was a direction they were going, which I guess they don't have to go that way because it is, as you said, like really silly, but I found like it would have been more coherent story-wise to me if that was the case, because I just sort of felt like he was randomly searching for the monkey without any real justification that this monkey is back and killing people. Why and also they weren't even like who's doing it. Like they never state like, well, who's using it? It's got to be being used by someone, and they could have used that other kid who gets killed by the bees. There could have been this whole mystery of like, is he using it?
Yeah,
he
I think it was maybe wanting you to think that as an audience member, but it didn't really.
But it just felt like incoherent to me. So I was a little bit like, why is this not tracking. Like I actually felt a bit confused in the middle.
I also felt a bit confused, and and that was my biggest.
And that's why I found very frustrating.
That was my biggest frustration with the movie too.
Because I really did feel like if it all fit together really nicely, I would have.
Well, I would say
this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I found some of the narrative leaps quite fun and quite funny.
Yeah.
So, like in the beginning of the movie, the kid plays with a monkey, and then his babysitter's beheaded at a Benihana restaurant, and the kid's immediately like, I think that was the fucking monkey. And obviously that's the most insane jump to make. And the thing is, most movies put in insane jumps, but they do it in a way where they like try and justify it in the most minimal way they can. And you're just watching them going, well, that obviously they wouldn't have made that connection, or obviously that wouldn't have happened. And it's annoying. But with this movie, it's just going, the kid immediately thinks it was the monkey, because of course it was. It has no interest in justifying the things, and in the same way it has no interest in doing exposition in a subtle or clever way. It does it in the most blatant stupid way, and like I really liked that, because you see so many movies, and especially like horror movies, that try and do these things in ways that are just so stupid or unsatisfying. And to see a movie be like, yeah, we know how fucking dumb all these movies are, so we're gonna like almost parody these things. And they're kind of having their cake and eating it too, right? Because they're like, we're not really going to explain this leap that doesn't make any sense in the plot.
Let's just get on with the fun bits.
That's a joke rather than a plot hole. And I thought that was quite good fun.
And I mean, Final Destination,
when it tries to become more plotty and more of a mystery, then you're like, okay, now you're trying to get us to engage with it more like a normal horror film, but it's just confusing, and I'm annoyed, and I just want to get back to
and I think also that bit was frustrating because it just felt fixable. It could have been done. It would have been such a great movie then.
Both this and Long Legs feel like they could have done with an editor or a rewrite or something to fix some
dot all the I's and cross all the T's.
Frustrating things.
Yeah, because it's literally like I was sitting there, and then like at the end of the movie, I was like, oh, I've just imagined how I want this movie to be.
Yeah.
And it's almost the same movie, but it's just subtly like more coherent or whatever.
That's how I knew I wanted to do stand-up comedy, because I went to see, I think, my first ever like live mixed bill stand-up comedy gig, and there was one comedian who was really good, who I loved, and I was like, wow, that's so amazing. And there was one comedian who was quite shit, and I was like fixing the jokes in my head as I was watching it and afterwards, and I was going, that would be like being like, oh, he should, that wasn't funny because of this, and and
so is this your origin story as a director?
Too much fucking work to do that. Have you seen Sean Baker's his speech at the SAG Actors Awards he just did, where he's basically going on about how making indie movies is basically impossible now because it's so expensive,
right?
And I mean he doesn't offer any solutions apart from demand more money, which I don't know if is
that how
is
we're
going
get
to work.
Upstarts in the indie movie industry.
But yeah, it was making me think, God, like I definitely can see a road in my life where my passion for movies slightly overtook my passion for stand-up, and I was and I wanted to try and do that. But like,
I mean, considering, I feel
nightmare.
So bad whenever I criticize a movie of any sort, because the fact that I can't even do Instagram reels.
Yeah,
in the way I want them to be made, which I'm like, a movie is just that times by a billion extra factors.
When I tried to film my first comedy sketch, which was a conversation between two people filmed very simply, and found it really difficult, I was like, oh wow, movies are incredible.
Yeah.
Like, try and make a short film just about like someone having a chat with someone, and try and make it not look absolute garbage.
Yeah, it's also
and a very, very good hack for getting more appreciation for the stuff that you do watch.
Yeah, because then there must be so many times where it's like a director knows what the criticisms are. They're literally like, I know what the problem is. I couldn't reshoot on that day.
Yeah.
Because it would cost $1 billion.
Yeah.
So I have to watch this movie also being like,
Yeah.
I did one of the bits I also did love in the movie is when they just test the monkey. Which I thought was actually such a thing young teenagers would actually do.
We think this monkey kills someone every time we use it, but we're not sure, so let's just use it one more time.
Let's just see, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, no, it does, it really does."
I think we basically had the same feelings.
Yeah. That ending scene though really is with the whole town just dying. Falling apart.
Oh yeah, the whole town dying and all the like cheerleaders getting their heads chopped off and stuff. Just like really like gleeful in its violence, and in a way that because the violence is so cartoonish, there's sometimes with movies like that, the sort of gleeful violence, a part of me goes like, oh, is this nice? Is this good? Is this sort of glorifying and normalizing death and destruction in a way that like I have kind of mild internal conflict about, but this is like so silly, like when the guy is trampled and they pour him out of a sleeping bag and he's just jelly.
He's like baked beans.
Yeah. It's just so stupid that really.
And I did love that they just sort of meet the ghost of death, I guess, at the end or something on the horse.
Yeah, that was weird. I thought maybe that was like...
he looks all confused that they can
That
see
was calling
him.
back to the like poetry thing that someone quoted earlier in the movie, I think.
I didn't even remember that, yeah.
I don't know. I'm probably wrong about that. Yeah, that was a bit strange, the sort of death ghost coming along.
Oh, but I really liked it.
It felt like it was trying to have a sort of profound moment.
Yeah. But I do
the stupidness of everything.
But it kind of did though, because I like the ending. The ending was actually, as far as like a horror movie goes, I was like, this is actually so great that they just have to live with it.
Yeah.
Which I thought was, and because it's got that whole thing of being like, it's like life, and then there is this sort of like, you can read into it as like, oh, it's a big metaphor of the fear of death and all this sort of stuff, which is always generally, I think the best horror movies have that element of like it's preying on a really existential feeling in this kind of heightened way,
and I think it just slightly did that in a way enough to kind of elevate it very slightly, but overall it's just a movie that wants the audience to have a good time. And it's not scary, but I can think of very few horror movies that are as funny and silly and fun.
Yeah, but I think that's it though. If you're not going to be scary, be fun. If you're a horror movie, because it's like Final Destination. I think it is a fun movie. Or franchise, I guess. Like,
but I mean, Final Destination is like a bit more kind of between the two worlds. Like one person might watch Final Destination and go and have a great time. Another person might go, oh my god, and be freaking out. Like I don't think anyone is watching the monkey, and they might be tense for a moment. But it's so silly and stupid. Most of it is just silly and like, and people explode and like he takes his glasses off and there's like an imprint of where he was wearing the glasses with the blood splattered all over his face, and even when that happens he's like, god, what a day that I've had. Like no one's traumatized or anything.
No one's reacting genuinely to how it should. No, there's not that. I mean, it's interesting how like a movie can make someone cutting their finger feel like the worst and most traumatizing thing ever, and then someone's face being on fire is actually quite fun.
I love that the woman's head is on fire for like so long, and she's just running around like, what do I do? What am I gonna do? For a completely unrealistic amount of time. And maybe could have done with even more deaths in the movie. To be honest, I mean, the end is great when they have loads of them all together. But anyway, good time, good film. Should we finish?
Time. Yeah, all right.
Anything else you want to say?
Nah.
No.
No, I'm done.
Thanks for bearing with us.
Thanks, pals.
Cats.
Meow.
Kids.
Monkeys.
This
should be monkeys.
Come back next week for...
Huh?
What movie are we doing next week?
Big movie? I don't know. Annihilation?
Anyway. No. Bye.
Bye.